It's the Royal Oak Show with Carlo Ginotti. On tonight's Royal Oak Show, it's all about being outside. Carlo gets natural with Bob Muller of the Royal Oak Nature Society. Jeff Skarjkunee of the Royal Oak Softball League drops by. Beaumont Hospital's Ellen Sneider and Kathleen Grobbel will talk about the new Beaumont Children's Hospital. And featuring the comedy of Matt McLowry. And now, Carlo Ginotti.
Thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to joining us here tonight, the Royal Oak Show. Andy, how's everything going with you?
It's going well, Carlo. Going well. Good to see you again. You look well, sir.
It's looking good. Everything's looking up except the economy. We'll get to that in just a second. But, you know, it's a special night for me tonight, Andy.
Is that right? Why is it?
It's my anniversary tonight. Carolyn and my lovely wife, Carolyn, and I have been married for 18 years tonight.
Oh,
so.
wonderful.
Do you want to know the secret of our longevity?
Sure. What is it?
Well, the secret is that we spend very little time together. So, as you notice, she's not here tonight. She's in Dearborn at a doubleheader with my son, and I'm here with you. So that's what keeps us going.
Appreciate that.
Hey, speaking of the economy and upbeat things, have you made any large purchases lately, Andy?
Well, since we did have our last show, I did buy a car. Not because the economy's doing so well, but because my lease was up.
What kind of car did you have?
Well, I had a Dodge Charger, and I was a little nervous about Chrysler going out of business and so on. So I wanted to go with a little more stable company.
Oh, good. What kind of car did you buy?
I got a Pontiac.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
I have a quick joke for you that only the married guys in the audience will understand. I'll try to keep it clean. This guy wakes up in a hospital, and he's got a bandage where his right arm used to be. And the doctor says, you know, I'm glad to see you're out of your coma. He says, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you. He says, well, Doc, what's the bad news? He says, well, that accident that you were involved in, your right arm was terribly mutilated and we had to cut it off. And he says, oh, I can't believe that. What's the good news? He says, well, you still have about $10,000 left on your Blue Cross Blue Shield that we can repair that arm. He says, well, go ahead, do it. He says, take the whole 10 grand and put it on my arm, get my arm back together again. And the guy says, well, I don't know. He says, you know, that's a major decision. I think you should go home and talk about it with your wife because we don't have to put all 5 digits on. It's very expensive. We can give you 2 digits or 3 digits, and it's less expensive. He says, Doc, I know what my wife will say. She'll want me to have my right arm back again. He says, well, do me a favor, go home and talk to her. She comes back about 2 days later, and the doctor says, well, how are you going to spend that 10 grand? And he says, we're getting granite countertops. So.
Hey.
I mean, that's marriage. That's marriage. Andy, we've got a great show tonight. In just a little while, you're going to tell us all about what's going on in and around this great city of ours. Is that right?
That's absolutely right.
Okay. Now is as good a time as any. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Aubrey.
Thank you, Carlo. Well, the Oak Apple Run is just east of Royal Oak High School. And that's it for our announcements this week. Back to you, Carlo.
Well, thank you very much, Andy. Andy, we've got, again, a great show, and a tradition that has taken place for the last couple shows that we've had is Beaumont Hospital, one of our great corporate residents here in the city, has stepped up again and provided us with 2 guests tonight to tell us about some of the things that are going on in Royal Oak, Beaumont. We have with us, closest to me is Ellen Sneider and Kathleen Grobbel. Welcome to the Royal Oak Show.
Thank you.
There's no applause. Where's that Royal Oak welcome for everyone? So, first, beginning with you, Ellen. You're a nurse.
I am.
Correct. And at this point, you're a nurse manager at the at the new Beaumont Children's Hospital.
That's right. I am the administrative manager for Pediatrics at Royal Oak, and a proud member of our new Beaumont Children's Hospital.
Now, there's probably a lot of people out there that didn't realize that Beaumont has a children's hospital.
Right.
When did we?
Probably about maybe 2 years ago, we had investigated the opportunity to become part of what's called the National Association of Children's Hospitals and Related Institutions, which is fondly known as NACRI. And what NACRI does is try to highlight hospitals that have had the opportunity to grow their pediatric service without having a freestanding facility. And many of them around the country are usually within a hospital system like ours. And so we were able to provide enough information for that process to go forward. We have about 36 different specialties for children. We have around 85 physicians who provide that service, and we have been able to also enlist about 200 pediatricians within the system. So once we were able to get that approval last year, we were able to move forward with announcing the Beaumont Children's Hospital. And that allows us to use that title for all kinds of things that will help the children of Royal Oak, but also within our system. We have some beds over at Troy, and we have some beds, inpatient beds at the Grosse Pointe facility now. So it really is a help. And I think for the families in Royal Oak, we hope that they will be confident to use our services. Come and see us.
Well, you know, it's a great thing. And of course, seated to your right is Kathleen Grobbel,
Right.
who is a pediatric recreational therapist within the new Children's Hospital. And we're going to talk about some of the programs that are available. But it's amazing when people start thinking about what Beaumont was a simple, 10 or 20 years ago to now what they have become, right within our city limits.
Right.
Having a children's hospital there is important. And obviously, that's an understatement.
It is.
And maybe you can tell me what's the difference between a regular hospital and a hospital that is designed specifically for treating children's ailments and whatnot. And Kathleen, you can feel free to jump in anytime you want.
Well, go ahead, Kathleen.
Okay.
Why don't you go first?
Well, a children's hospital is all-encompassing. You know, we focus on the needs of the whole child and the family. So, we're not just treating little people. We're treating children, and they have their own specific needs and their own specific problems and issues. So we really focus on kind of the whole child. So, the way that I do that specifically with recreational therapy is to help children kind of cope with hospitalization through regular games and activities that they would normally experience outside of the hospital. So we do special events and parties, and we try to make the unit fun for them. We do crafts and games and all kinds of things to help children just cope with being in the hospital and to help them cope with their injury or illness.
And that's really neat. That's a technical term, but it's very frightening sometimes when a child has to go to the hospital, whether it's for emergency or something even more critical. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. Kathleen, you're a resident of Royal Oak too, so it's an added bonus.
Yes.
And you have your family with you tonight. Your two lovely daughters and your husband.
And my husband.
Yeah.
We've been here for 15 years, my husband and I.
And you like Royal Oak, and you're going to stay, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We love it.
And tell us, Ellen, what your responsibility is as it relates to the Children's Hospital. I know that you're the nurse manager. You're basically on the front lines.
Right.
And that's an awesome responsibility, I would imagine.
It is. It's been my privilege. I've worked with Beaumont for over almost 21 years, and what has been, for me, I've been very proud of being part of this whole process of us growing up into what we are now with the Beaumont Children's Hospital. I have the responsibility for obviously overseeing the care that's delivered during a child's stay on the inpatient side. And I work with many colleagues who work in the neonatal area, who work in our subspecialty clinics, who work in the emergency center and the operating room, all of us having the same goal, that we want the experience for these children and their families to be the best it can, and for them to be comfortable in the environment. So when we were building the South Tower, we had the opportunity to really take a look at what can we provide for families to make them feel that way. And so all of our rooms have some extra added amenities. Kids have their own refrigerators at bedside. They have their own TV with a DVD and VCR player.
No Xbox?
Well, we got
do
that.
have Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
You talk to me
you
for
got
that.
games, I have games. And probably our biggest connection in getting us to that point, we were really very, very fortunate to have the William and Marie Carles Foundation support us during that building period. It gave us the opportunity to put a few more things in place. And Children's Miracle Network came in very, very large for us and built the children's garden area with the atrium space. And that was almost $750,000 that they put in to allow us to have that. So we're very, very fortunate to be able to use and be partnering with them to create the center that we have.
That's great. And NACRI, as it's called, the National Association of Children's Hospital and Related Institutions,
Right.
they don't hand these certificates out willy-nilly.
No.
Another
No.
technical term, willy-nilly. Did you get that, Andy? Are you writing these down?
He's on a roll. No, they don't. And I think that's a testimony to the physicians we have. Dr. Maisels is our chairman of the department, and he has been with us for a few years longer than I have. He had a vision coming into the hospital that there would be a place for children within Beaumont. Beaumont was very committed to that philosophy, and it does take time to build that practice, but we are really very fortunate. And for the residents of Royal Oak and the people in the Oakland County system, we want them to know that they do have a place for care for children. Obviously, there are children's facilities freestanding within our community, within Metro Detroit, but I think that many times people didn't and may not have realized until now that we've been able to announce it strongly that we do have these services for children.
Well, that is great, though. And Kathleen, with the last couple minutes that we have, I'd like you to tell us, if you will. I see that you brought some props.
Yes.
I did.
What are those? Could you explain those to us?
Sure. This is one of the programs that we run for children who have long-term illnesses. This is called Bravery Beads. And for every procedure or event in a child's life, starting with diagnosis, they receive a bead for all the different procedures. So for instance, if they get a blood draw, they get a red bead. If they, if they stay on the inpatient unit, they get a star. If they get a bone marrow test, they get a penguin. A CAT scan is, of course, a little cat. So for every challenge that they have when they're on the unit or even at home, if they have a birthday or an event, they get a bead for that. So it kind of documents their hospitalization and their illness. And they can take the beads to school for show and tell and kind of explain, what they've been through when they're going through their illness and their treatment and all that.
And those are called
bravery beads.
Oh, that's a wonderful thing. You're trying to make their stay in a terrible situation sometimes a little bit more, not enjoyable, but a little bit more manageable, if you will.
Right.
Well, that's great. Is there a way that the people of Royal Oak could maybe find out a little bit more or come and visit the hospital?
We have our website up, and it's through the Beaumont Hospital System's website, and you can go on and look at all the subspecialists, the services that we have. We've started some new programming. That website is being kind of loaded every day. There's pieces of Talk to Your Doctor to be able to answer or ask questions of our physicians, and they can return answers. And we usually do have families or people that come to look at our system to see our hospital, so we're more than happy to have them do that.
You're very proud of it, and you welcome people to come in and walk around if they could.
Absolutely.
And I think we just have a few more seconds, but perhaps you could tell us a little bit about, Kathleen, the Children's Miracle Network.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Trying to fit everything in so that we can get people interested in that.
That's right.
Well, Children's Miracle Network is a national sponsor, and Beaumont Hospital is fortunate to be this Metro Detroit area Children's Miracle Hospital. So they're able to raise funds for us all through southeastern Michigan. So all the programs that we run through recreational therapy and child life services are funded through Children's Miracle Network. So for instance, the bravery beads, all the crafts, all the toys in the playroom, anytime we need video games or movies or anything for the kids to help them deal with being in the hospital, we, call Children's Miracle Network and we say, hey, we need some funds, and they're really great about, making sure we have what we need for the children.
And they've been great about sponsoring certain types of equipment that we might not have been able to get without them, things like bronchoscopy carts that are $100,000 and a vein view for helping find veins on children to make it less painful. And so anytime we've needed them throughout the years, we've never had anything but a positive response. So anyone can be a member of CMN by contributing. We tend to have banks everywhere. I think they have them at most of our sponsor stores are out there too. So anything that people think they might want to do, we're more than happy to talk to them.
Great.
So.
You mentioned something just a little while ago. I know in my day job, sometimes we deal with children who have been abused or neglected, and I learned that just the littlest thing, you mentioned it, just trying to find a vein on a child is a little different than trying to find a vein on an adult, and maybe through a program like this, you'll make the children's stay just a little bit more manageable.
Right. Absolutely.
I want to thank both of you for coming, and I hope to get over and see the facility, and I would urge everyone out there to come and see it and feel great that we've got an institution like Beaumont right here in our backyard.
All right. Well, thank you
both
so much for
coming.
having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
We're going
much.
to stay right there. We'll be right back with Jeff Skarjkunee and Bob Sullivan from the Royal Oak Sandlot League. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to the Royal Oak Show. We've got with us, we've got Jeff Skarjkunee and Bob Teacup. And I wanted to say that during the break, Bob Sullivan's public relations guy called and said,
It was okay if I stepped in for him?
yeah, this is not Bob Sullivan.
Yeah,
so,
it's not Bob Sullivan.
These two gentlemen, I've known them for quite a long time. They're both board members of the Royal Oak Sandlot League. Formerly, about, what, 10, 20 years ago, it was the Royal Oak Baseball Federation.
Correct.
We'll start with you. Jeff, what do you do with Royal Oak Sandlot?
Well, more than anything, I've been coaching teams, managing teams for probably, we were talking about that, 6 years,
yeah.
something like that now. Like you know, we started when our boys were in T-ball and moved
Worked
up
your way
from
up
there.
through control pitch and freehand. And
so now my son is actually in Harwell, which is the oldest division. He's the youngest age of the oldest division. And so we've moved up to that level. And probably in the last 3 or 4 years, I've been what we call a manager-director for the various leagues, the different divisions. So Bob is the manager-director of the K-Line division, and I'm the manager-director of the Harwell division.
so you guys have the higher pay grade, because I'm just
Exactly.
I'm just down in freehand.
No,
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it
You
is.
guys never really, see me in the
Exactly.
hallway or in
The real
air
high
or talk.
rollers are in the Harwell
The
division.
Harwell, right? That's with the 6 figures.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, we started before the show, Bob and Jeff. I wanted to, I wasn't stroking you, but you guys and the people that you work with do a fantastic job
Thank you.
for the city of
Thank you
Royal
very
Oak,
much.
and especially for the kids of Royal Oak.
Right.
How many kids do we have? And
Well,
boys and girls, too. How many boys and girls do we have in this
can't
program?
forget softball, because a lot of times that's not mentioned, but we have softball as well as hardball divisions, and we have 1,000+ kids this year, I believe, and we have had just a tremendous season last year, and the response this year is even in the economic times right now, everybody's coming back and wanting to play the great game of baseball. So that's exciting about, that's really what
I can
gets
tell
us
you guys
going.
love baseball.
We really do. I mean,
Bob's wearing his Tiger outfit here, and
Yeah.
2006, when the Tigers had their fantastic year, is really when we started getting a lot of kids, and you'll notice the numbers in the younger divisions we're adding teams. When you get to the Harwell and the older kids, there's not as many playing, there's not as many teams, but starting in 2006, when all of a sudden everybody fell in love with baseball again here in Detroit, our enrollment really skyrocketed.
and there's
We've really
so
done
many
well.
there's so many people that help contribute, on the board, and people that give all their extra efforts and all their spare time to make this thing work. I want to put that out there right now, because that goes unsaid a lot, and there's a tremendous amount of effort that goes behind the scenes to make it all happen.
You guys are just two of many that
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Spokes in the wheels. All
Yeah.
they
But you're the
are.
most important people. That's what you were telling me before in the
Well,
green room.
you weren't supposed to say that on the air,
okay.
but as long as you did, yeah, we can go with that.
Well, you mentioned Bob Sullivan earlier. He is the president of,
Right.
of ROSL, Royal Oak Sandlot League.
And been involved many years.
Yeah. And before that was Todd Mennick, who was, had been president for quite a number of years. And
He's in there for, what 110 years, I think.
about
right?
that, he's a lot older than we are.
Yeah.
So it was something like that. But it takes a lot of people and a lot of commitment. Equipment manager, stuff like that. I mean, there's just
Absolutely.
so many hours that people put into the program, and a lot of those people, for Bob and I, it's easy for us. Our kids are there, but a lot of those folks, their kids are gone. They're through the program.
Yeah, you've got a lot of people.
Oh,
I know that
absolutely.
on the freehand, you got. I
absolutely.
don't want to drop names. You got Mike Fry.
Right.
He's had
Right.
kids in the
Yep.
in the
Right.
system, but
Yep.
his kids are moved on. Yet he's still there all the time.
Very
at the field
dedicated
house.
people.
In fact,
Very
does he sleep
dedicated.
at the field house?
There's times when I bet he does, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, I'm missing equipment pickup tonight right
Are
now.
you
so
really?
you guys
Yeah.
put some good stuff aside for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But there's anybody who has not experienced the Royal Oak Sandlot has to first of all come and watch some games, especially the Harwell. They're great games up at Memorial. But it's great to see all the kids and all the adults. And May 31st, is that the
Opening.
Is that opening day ceremony
That's
at
the opening day
Memorial?
ceremony.
And that, for anybody who hasn't been there, you've got to come and just see all the kids from T-ball, the control pitch, all the way up to 17-year-old kids with their coaches and
Absolutely.
parents. And I think there's elected officials every so often that
Correct.
throw the ball across the plate.
And some veterans as well. Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
Jim Ellison, our mayor, has a good arm.
Yes, he does.
He's got a good arm.
Well, he's worked it out.
Yeah.
So it's gone so well so far.
But what we've been doing actually is we've been making some improvements along with the Parks and Recreation Department. With their blessing, we've been trying to help improve the fields for the kids. We're adding pitching rubbers. We're adding subsoil clays to help in the batter's box area and the pitching area. So we're constantly thinking of ways to upgrade and improve the fields, dugouts, things of that nature. So, I mean, Jeff and I, that's pretty much, you know, people think we don't have other jobs because that's all we talk about is baseball.
But you do have day jobs too, right?
Exactly, we do.
We do have lives outside of baseball.
Just very short, very limited, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you're getting on a point that I wanted to talk about, and one of the reasons that you're here, not only to talk about Royal Oak Sandlot League and the benefit it gives to the kids, but you've got a nice little surprise. You just mentioned that it costs a lot of money to run this program, and the city supplies the fields and cuts the grass once in a while.
Correct.
And then takes care of the infield, but for the most part, it's coaches and managers that get out there and rake it and
Absolutely.
And do what needs to be done, because that's just what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Costs a lot of money. Tell us about what things you have in the works.
Well, the city has been on board all along and has really done a very good job of taking care of the fields.
Todd Gazzetti is from staff.
Yep.
He does a great job.
You know, there's never been a time when we were ever embarrassed by the fields that our kids play on. You know, it's always been very well maintained.
They're always lined and chalked.
They're a bit old and tired.
Right.
And this is our 50th year of baseball. We can't forget that.
Right.
We're celebrating 50 years of baseball in Royal Oak. And one of the things that we wanted to do as a board was try to give a gift from ROSL back to the city. And what we've decided to do is improve the fields in a number of different ways, and as many fields as we can. And it's a very costly undertaking.
Absolutely.
And so we've done some fundraisers, and we have more planned for the future. And I have a friend who's a former ball player that is involved with the Tigers, a former Tiger, and we were just having a very casual conversation about baseball and the cost of field improvements and things like that.
Are you able to mention his name?
I can tell you it was Frank Sneider.
Okay. Another CC
The secret,
guy.
yeah, the secret guy.
Exactly.
Andy went to Brother Rice, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, I went to Clawson, so what do I know?
So you're talking to Frank Tanana.
So I'm talking to Frank Tanana. We're talking about baseball and field improvements and costs and things like that. And we're very fortunate that he got us in touch with the Detroit Tigers Foundation.
Yeah.
And we were able to apply for a grant, and we received a grant from them, a very generous grant. And there's one stipulation: it's a matching grant. And so we've got some work to do. We have to raise a good amount of money, and then between now and December 1st, and they are going to match what we raise up to $10,000.
Oh, that's great. That's good news.
So
that's
specifically
the Tigers,
for
you know,
use.
that's the front office, the Tigers,
Correct.
and that's a little unheard of. I mean, again, that's a testament to what you guys on the board have done with ROSL.
That was a lot of hard work on Jeff's part, really, actually.
So
baseball people take care of baseball people, and the Tigers have been extremely generous with us and so easy to work with. They really walked us through the application process. And anytime you apply for a grant, it's like going through a maze, and if you hit a dead end, you're done. So, you know, they really helped us avoid the dead ends and really steered us in the right direction, and we were able to work through that whole process very smoothly, and they're more than generous with the offer that they've made us.
Well, we'd like to thank the Tigers, obviously, and we'd like to thank you guys. And I want to make sure that I get this straight. Up to $10,000, whatever you raise,
Correct.
The Tigers will match it.
Absolutely.
And what are you doing as far as fundraising now? And how can people out there contact you and sign big checks and send them in?
We're very fortunate. You talk about board members, Ian. We're very fortunate. We have a professional fundraiser on our board, Doug Platonis.
I know Doug.
And he's done a fantastic job of putting a program together that has already raised a good amount of money. Bob Teakip and Bob Sullivan put on the tournament, the Royal Oak Tournament, and the proceeds from the tournament will go towards it. We've taken over the concession stand in the park, which
is a big plus. That's
a big deal for us.
Yeah.
But it's all towards helping these kids make a great experience for them. I mean, that's what we're all about. You know, every time we're thinking about how we can improve it and make it a more positive experience for the youth. You know, and there is a website that Mr. Sullivan gave to us. It's eteams /Royal Oak Sandlot League.com. You can contact us there, or our number is 248-585-2719.
Good, and I hope that maybe we'll have it scrolling on the bottom of the screen as we speak, or is it this way? I don't know. But well, I want to thank you. We've just got a couple seconds left. Is there anything you guys want to add? Thank you. Before you go, thank you for sticking with it and getting the money from the Tigers.
Thank you for having us and letting us have the opportunity to get out there. We need to. Our work is beginning now. We need to raise a lot of money.
Right.
And
this money that's stipulated to go directly to help, we had to make a list of the improvements that we were going to help out with the city. So this money is going directly to improve the fields, dugouts and such and whatnot. So it's a really great program.
Good. And then the city's on board. I know.
Absolutely.
With the Tigers on board, we can't fail.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll have to bring some Tigers on the Royal Oak show.
It might happen.
We got a couple that live in Royal Oak.
Yeah, there's a few residents, so we'll work on that.
Well, good. I want to thank you both for coming, and thanks for the dedication that you've shown over the years.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks
and don't forget to put all my equipment, my uniforms to one side.
All the good stuff is set aside.
Absolutely.
Tanya's Pizza, by the way. I got to get that plug in there.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming, both of you, and we'll see you on the field.
Thanks, Carlo. Thanks for having us.
Come back and join Carlo when he visits with Bob Muller of the Royal Oak Nature Society. The Royal Oak Show will be back after these important messages. Stay tuned.
If you believe, your limits will have no limitations. If you believe, your defeats will have no devastation. If you believe, your past will remain behind you. If you believe, your future will excite you. If you believe, your spirit can't be spirited away. If you believe, you will triumph one day.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show, and now let's get natural with Mr. Natural himself, Bob Muller from the Royal Oak Nature Society.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Andy. Sure. You do a great job of that. Bob, this, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is Bob Muller, as Andy indicated. Welcome to the Royal Oak Show.
Well, thank you. This is going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Have you been in the back room watching the other guests, the other victims?
Yeah, I think they did extremely well, so hopefully I won't be the comic relief.
No. Andy and I will take care of that, and we've got Matt McClowery coming up after this.
Yes, hopefully he will be, yes.
Now, Bob, you are in Royal Oak here, you're known as the naturalist, right?
Yes.
For the Nature Society, the Royal Oak Nature Society.
Yes.
What does that mean? What do you do?
Primarily, we put on about 24 nature walks a year, and I probably am leading 20 to 22 of those. I've got a few people that help out if I've got something scheduled that I've got to be two places at once, which happens. We have a speakers program, and I'm sort of the MC for that. So my face is probably in front of more people. There's a lot of people that work in the Nature Society, but I probably get a lot of the glory because I'm the one that people see. In fact, Don Dreif, one of our other naturalists, our botanist, led a nature walk a while back, and he called me up afterwards and he said, one of the people that came on it got there and said, "You're the wrong person." They
were expecting to see you.
Yeah, but that was a great term. He said, "Yeah, I'm the wrong person," you know. So.
Well, you brought some people with you tonight. You want to give them a quick introduction?
Oh yeah, we got Ted Vickers, who is our membership person, and about 4 other tasks because we didn't have people on our staff. He was doing education. Yep. And his wife Nancy, who helps in numerous ways, and then of course my wife, who lets me play in the woods. So.
I'm glad all you guys are with us tonight. Bob, tell us about the Nature Society. I don't think there's probably, many people enjoy what you do and benefit from what the Nature Society does, but there's probably a lot of people out there that aren't yet aware of what the Nature Society is. Tell us what you do.
We were involved, a few of us, with an ad hoc committee off Parks and Rec that the City Council wanted to know what to do with the nature parks. And as we planned the ideas, and I had been involved in a nature program the city put on back in the 70s, we decided that the only way it would really work was to be a volunteer organization and do it ourselves. Almost like the gentlemen that were here doing baseball and use a city park that isn't theirs. We put nature program into the park that we don't own.
Yeah. Let me interrupt you just briefly. You indicated that, you said that, lawyer talk, it's hard to shut it off, but you stated that the Royal Oak has nature parks.
Yes.
That's different than some of the other parks that we have. Can you maybe tell us what a nature park is and where they are?
Of the 53 parks that Royal Oak has, a lot of them are athletic parks, neighborhood parks. If they're wooded, they've cut down all the brush in the tree. They've just left the trees in a lawn, you know, that type of situation. These are 2 acres of about 23 acres each that have never been cut. They are effectively remnant woodlots from settlers' farms from before 1900. And by accident, almost, they came into, say, the 50s, 70s, that time frame when people started to value that, and we kept them.
Somebody was thinking ahead.
Accidentally, I think, but you know, they survived long enough.
That's usually how good decisions are made, I guess, by accident.
If we hadn't had 53 parks, I bet they would have been cut for baseball diamonds, but with that many, it would have cost you money to get rid of the trees.
Where
so
are
I
these
really
parks?
think that's it. One is directly behind the high school. Okay. If you look behind the high school, you see Tenhave Woods, which is named after a Don Darrow biology teacher. And Cummingston Park, if you drive down Myers Drive, you see the back of it. It's sort of tucked into an industrial area over there.
And these are parks that are basically left pristine.
Yeah,
just the way they were.
We've identified over 300 flowering plants in the parks, and we're still finding more each year. And really, they've been botanized for about 30 years, and we're still finding more things. We have a lot of animals. Of course, they've moved into the city big time. We have deer, which we don't really want. They'll eat all the wildflowers. But
there's actually deer.
There's deer, there's coyotes, there's fox. I've seen the fox. I've had people on Lexington near Tenhave that know coyotes, have watched them run down their driveways. So
now, I thought that I knew everything about Royal Oak, and I did not know that we had deer and coyote in these fields that we pass every day. That's very interesting.
We have breeding population of deer within walking distance of downtown Royal Oak that hide in people's backyards, which is sort of odd, but I think what's happened is when I was a boy, we were the edge of the woods, Royal Oak. We were the edge of the suburbs. The animals lived in the woods and maybe they wandered into the neighborhoods, but all that woods is gone. Either you died or you found a way to live with people. And, you know, I think everybody realizes we have skunks and possums and raccoons and all kinds of things in our neighborhoods.
But not deer and coyote and fox. I did not know
but
that.
we've got those too, yes.
And not to mention the flowers, the wildflowers that you're not going to see, but in these woods.
Come out this Saturday. We still have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trillium in full bloom. So the wildflower season's well on its way. It's closing at this point, but we still have some of the really showy stuff out there. So,
and we've still got some time, but we were talking earlier. I asked you the question how the society got started. It was an interesting story. Could you share that with our viewers?
We started with, I guess someone wanted to put 8-foot asphalt pathways through Tenhave Woods behind the high school.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and therefore at the public hearing of the city council meeting, a lot of people showed up from the neighborhood going, we don't want this. And the city council asked an incredibly great question at that time.
That happens sometimes.
Yes, once in a while. They basically said, well, what should we do with these parks? And so an ad hoc committee was formed off Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. There was an ad in the paper saying they wanted people to be on it. My wife spotted that, and I found my way onto it because I'd been involved in the nature program in the 70s that the city did fund. And as we planned the things that we should do in there to, one, protect them, because if people use parks, then they value the parks, they stay. If not, eventually they go away. If no one uses them, the antisocial things go on, you know, the beer party or whatever, paintball wars. We used to have a lot of that. That if we really wanted to do it, we couldn't depend on the city to fund it. We simply had to do it. Again, like the gentlemen that do baseball. In a way, we're that kind of an organization. We're putting on just nature program, not athletics. And it's been about 10 years now.
And the society it receives some assistance from the city, but for the most part, you're totally funded independently
Well, unlike the baseball guys who don't probably mow their own field and put the lines on the ground, within the fences, the city does basically nothing. We do all of the trail maintenance, all of the trail building. Occasionally, Parks and Rec will chip stuff for us that we've cut and hauled out. But pretty much we do the whole thing. We wouldn't be able to do this without the help of scout troops. How
do they help you?
Eagle Scout projects. We had 9 last year. And actually only 9 in the 9 years previous to that. So last year was, we were overwhelmed. But, these kids bring in 30, 40 people and have a project that's supposed to take a day or two. In fact, one young man built the new pond that we've just built at Cummingston. He earned all of the money for the excavating equipment, helped move the logs from the trees, just, a tremendous amount of work that within the Nature Society, there's maybe 3 or 4 of us that go do physical work. Obviously, we can't do projects that big, so scout troops have saved our life.
Well, once again, Bob, what you and the Nature Society do is it's a credit to our community. You're basically behind the scenes, the silent army, if you will. Got a couple of seconds left. What can people do? How do people enjoy these parks, Ten Haven, Cummingston?
Well, just take a walk. We have great programs. I mean, you could come on a nature walk if you want, but you don't have to come on our programs. We've got a great trail system now. You can walk into those parks at any time. When I go in there, I find people walking with their kids and families. I went in with a high school teacher last week because we're going to do a field trip for her class, and there were high school students in there.
How do people find out? Do you have a website, or is it
well, if you get on the Royal Oak City website, there's a link to the Nature Society.
And that'll tell
we
people
have
out
our
there?
schedule of events on that.
All right. And then it'll explain how to enjoy these parks on their own, if you will.
Sure.
All right, well, Bob, thank you very much for coming on. I really enjoyed having you, and I learned something tonight, as is usually the case with the guests we have. I learned something from everyone. We now have deer and coyote. I now know that we have deer and coyote in some of these areas.
Flying squirrels, too.
And flying squirrels.
Yes.
A Rocky and Bullwinkle type?
Yeah, yep. He doesn't wear the goggles, but we got him. Thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate it.
Great.
And look forward to seeing you again. Of course, I know we'll run into each other in the very near future.
Come back and join us when comedian Matt McClowry is here to make us laugh. From Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, the Royal Oak Show will return after these messages.
All right, and welcome back to the Royal Oak Show. We have another tradition here started at the Royal Oak Show that has been very popular. We have from Ridley's Comedy Castle, the comic relief tonight, Matt McClowry.
Thank you guys very much. How are you guys doing? Good. Are you guys having a good day? Yeah. Okay. I saw a guy today who wasn't having a very good day. I was driving here down 75, and I saw a guy who had a flat tire who was on the side of the road. And that isn't very funny, but he had a windshield decal that said, "Unstoppable." That kind of was. Are you guys all from the area? Yeah. Listen to that enthusiasm. You guys from around here? Yeah. I flew out east recently to do a comedy festival and flew back, and the flight back was really scary and turbulent. I thought we were going to crash, but we landed safely at Metro Airport, and I'm the only person who's ever said this out loud. Thank God. I'm in Detroit. When I was out east, people asked me, "Matt, what's it like living in Michigan?" And I'm like, "I don't know, it's just like here, except without all the paved roads and jobs." I'm like, yeah, do you ever use the phrase, yeah, follow the orange barrels until you get to the abandoned factory? That's what it's like living in Michigan. We don't have a state seal, we have a food stamp. Too much? Sorry. Well, you have some good things going on in the area, though. You guys Red Wings fans? Yeah. Red Wings defending the Stanley Cup this year. Were you guys like me, that when they won last year, people in your neighborhood started setting off fireworks? Yeah. Yeah, normally that's a lot of fun, but I live in Dearborn, so I'm going to have to apologize if stuff starts blowing up outside my window. I get a little antsy. Just so long as I don't hear I'm in the clear. But I should tell you about myself. I've been doing comedy now for about 5 years. Yeah, I've done 100-some shows. I've made $100-some. Comedy's a lot of fun, but you don't make a lot of money starting out or ever. So what you need to do is you need to get a part-time job to support yourself. Has anybody here ever had one of those? Yeah. Some places I ask the question if people are working, I just hear the sound of guns cocking. But the thing, I hate most about those jobs isn't even the work itself, it's the interviews. Because no matter how bad the job is, when you go on the interview, you're expected to act like you really want it. Yeah, like I always put on a game face. Like, yeah, I'm a hardworking, highly motivated, upwardly mobile, success-oriented individual. And that's exactly why I want to work here at Dollar Tree. And then they sit you down and look at your application. They're like, Matt, tell me, why do you want to be a member of the Dollar Tree family? And in your head, you're like, yeah, why do I want to be? What are you supposed to say? It's my dream. You can't tell them. What are you supposed? Well, I'm in it for the gift card bonuses. That's why. I was at a dollar store. Do you know that they sell dollar store gift cards? Can you think of a better way to say go to hell to a friend or relative than a gift card from the dollar store? Oh, Bob, what'd you get me? Just open it. You can thank me later. Oh, you really went all out, didn't you? I don't know whether or not I'm going to spend it on a Pez dispenser or a gumball. I gave you a kidney, you know. But, so I applied for the job. Hope I get it. I applied for a job at Meijer. Do you guys like shopping at Meijer? A little? I like shopping at Meijer because it's a 24-hour superstore, a 24-hour store that sells everything. Because you never know when you're going to be in a situation where you wake up at 4:30 in the morning and you need headphones, circus peanuts, and a scented candle. It'll be there. So at least it's not Kmart, you know? Kmart, that's like Target with a disease. Yeah. Kmart, I was reading recently that Kmart was in danger of going out of business, which blew me away, because if you've ever been inside of a Kmart, you would think they went out of business 15 years ago. Because they don't have anything new on the shelves. They don't stock them freshly. All they have in the supermarket section is like a dusty six-pack of new Coke. And all they have in the entertainment section is copies of Rambo 2 on Betamax. And the only thing, they have a hardware section, and the only tools they have are the wheel and fire. I was at a store the other day, and I saw a guy, or I saw that sign. Have you ever seen the sign that says, no shoes, no shirt, no service? Yes. Now, here's my question. If there's a guy walking into the front door of a store wearing nothing but a pair of Wranglers and a smile that's missing a few teeth, what the hell makes you think he can read? There should just be like a picture of Kid Rock with a circle slash around it. That guy's going to take one look at that and know he needs to go back to Taylor and find someplace else to pick up his boxed wine and Skol. Thank you, everybody. That's my time.
Hey, Matt, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
That was great.
That was very, very nice audience. Yeah, very polite.
So you know, I tell all the comedians that come on the show, Andy and I say the same thing, that now you have reached the pinnacle of success. You've been on the Royal Oak Show.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
We have a lively audience tonight, though, don't we?
Oh, yeah. We have one child. And,
all right, don't blow the mystique now. I mean, the people at home are thinking, wow.
The man from the senior citizens home, it's a pleasure. All right, now I turned them.
No. This has become, Andy, I don't know about you, this has become always the best part of the show. Listen to the different comedians, and you were very funny. I don't have to tell you that.
Thank you very much. That's all. It's all downhill from here. I'm a stiff interview.
Yeah, that's what we say every night after the show. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah,
How did you get
find
started?
another low point, don't we?
Find another low point.
Every
Not
week.
casting aspersions on you, man.
Oh, finding another low point. That's the comedy business in a nutshell.
How did you get started in comedy?
Well, it was just something I always wanted to do as a little kid. I either wanted to be a stand-up comic or a professional wrestler because I was always very realistic. But and now I'm doing stand-up comedy. About 4 years ago, I was going to college. I have a college degree. It has my brother's name on it, but I have it.
That's all that matters nowadays, right? Is have it in a wall. Yeah.
Community college, and that's kind of like a trailer park with books. And so I wasn't.
You've pretty much insulted everyone from the area now. That's good.
Yes, I'm cuddly.
Where can people come and see you? You're really funny, and I hope that.
The Comedy Castle, May 21st through 23rd, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I will be there with headliner Chad Miller, and the feature act is a very funny lady named Jessie Campbell. So I would love for everybody to come out and check out that show.
Yeah, we'd love to. I hope Andy and I can maybe come on over and do the little open mic night. What do you think?
Sure, why not, right?
You ever do open mic other than tonight?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, how's that? How does that work out?
Well, you see three things at open mic nights. You see very funny people who are up and coming, haven't found their voice yet. You see people that are kind of, well, this might not be the thing for them. And you also get to see complete lunatics. And that is probably worth the price of admission right there, which is only $3. So,
Do you ever get up at the microphone and just kind of draw a blank? I know that everyone's done that.
You mean
once
like except for tonight?
No. Well, except for tonight. But have you ever done that? What do you do in that case?
I usually just take it. I've tried my best. I don't have the necessarily the improv training skills. I just I go with what I wrote, and I just kind of to maybe take a sip of water, maybe ask somebody if they're celebrating something. Go to the crowd work well, which isn't mine.
And that's got to be tough to do. I know that Andy. We've heard from other guests who say sometimes they misjudge their audience, and you start you're in an area where you shouldn't be, and pretty soon you hear the crickets chirping, and that's got to be painful. How do you get out of something like that? Do you change your whole routine?
Well, you look around the room and you think, what's the quickest way to the parking lot, and that's pretty much that's where I go from there. Make sure I have my keys and I've got my check.
Yeah, the check is very important.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Andy. We forget about that all the time. We always leave without grabbing our check.
Yeah, we're still waiting for ours. Do you get paid? I mean, you go to clubs you're not accustomed to playing, and I assume that you get paid up front sometimes. Or,
yeah, you would like to. I think that's the general rule of thumb. You get paid in cash. You ask if there's any paperwork. They say no. You don't ask questions. Just. But yeah, if you've ever wanted to tour the country playing every sports bar and Elks Lodge, then stand-up comedy is the job for you.
Are you from this area, Matt?
I'm from Dearborn. Yes.
Oh, are you? Okay. And you grew up, born and raised?
Born and raised, yeah.
Oh, that's good. And did you get your start like right after high school or right after college? And sometimes we hear about having too many beers and you get up on the stage at open mic night.
I'm not a drinker. I started out.
So you have no excuse then for.
Oh no. I started out when I was 21 years old. And quit drinking on my 21st birthday. Started stand-up comedy.
That's good. You quit drinking on your 21st.
Oh yeah, pretty much. That was the last beer I ever had.
I was a little slow on the uptake on that. So. But did you start out at open mic night? Or?
Yes, that is where you start out. Yes, and the very first open mic night, I blanked completely on stage, and that wouldn't be the last time. But yeah, I did actually manage to get a big laugh out of it. Yeah.
What's one of the most memorable experiences you've had in your profession?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of what the most memorable experience I had so far. Well,
do you feel like you're at a beauty pageant right now? I just asked you that question. Memorable experience.
Well, I'm not a beauty, but I would say maybe the Boston Comedy Festival or the Detroit International Comedy Festival were both career highlights. And also, I think just the first time I've ever gotten to perform a set as a feature act. And because I've hosted a lot and done a lot of open mic nights, but when you get into the middle spot and you can really are able to show people what you can do. And I'm just starting to do that right now.
How do people get in touch with you? Do you have a website, or was it Facebook now, or MySpace?
Facebook.
Oh, you got them all. Okay.
MySpace, which is getting a little old, but I have an email address. I'm trying to get my own mattmcclowry.com set up, but not yet. But yeah, I'm very easy to get a hold of. I can give you guys my phone number. But,
yeah, well, if somebody's sitting at home and they want to hear more about you, like your schedule, could they contact?
Yeah, myspace.com/MattMcclowry, MattMcclowry.
Good, and that's probably scrolling again right here at the bottom of the screen. So after your appearance on the Royal Oak Show, if you haven't reached the top, you will soon be there. Is that pretty much the case?
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
That's what's happened to the two of us.
Pretty much. Yeah, you can see what's done for us now.
Yeah, I doubt it. But I'll keep my fingers crossed.
No, that'll be good. I really want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Ridley's Comedy Castle has been extremely gracious, and I'm sure that you've heard about the experience of being on the Royal Oak Show, and now you've experienced it firsthand.
Yes,
and I'm sure you'll never come back again.
Oh, that's kind of a Freudian slip, isn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt McClowry, a very funny man. Thank you very much, Matt, coming on. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for being on the Royal Oak Show. And I want to thank all of our guests, Ellen Sneider, Kathleen Grobbel, Bob Muller, we've got Jeff Skarjkunee and Bob Teacup, and of course, the very funny man, Matt McClowry. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming to the Royal Oak Show. Andy, we've got to go.